Hi, how are you? And welcome back to another segment of Coffee and Connection with the Chief. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau of the Wolfeboro Police Department, and to my left is my Executive Officer, Captain Mark Livy. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but welcome to March, right? It's 1 March, and the snow is melting. The lake is defrosting. It's thawing out. Yes, I know, it's thawing out. So what does that mean? That means get your bobsleds and your bob houses and your snowmobiles and all your equipment off the lake, or else it's going to go through, right? The lake right now is it's unstable. It's been warming. Yes, we've had some cold nights and some freezing temperatures. We've had a little bit of snow. We're probably going to continue to get snow, but it's warming up. The ground is warming up. The water is thawing out the ice. So just be careful out there, okay? If you're out on the lake, be careful. The ice is thin in a lot of spots. You got pressure ridges, so you need to be safe. Last month we had a vehicle go through the ice and on Lake Wentworth, and it causes all sorts of issues. So just be very careful. Start planning on getting your equipment off the lake. April will be here before you know it. So don't take any chances, and those fines are pretty steep. So you don't want your equipment going through the ice. So with that, some big dates that we have coming up. Of course, we have the town vote, right? 8 March, from 8 until 7, 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. Right at Town Hall. Prepare to wear a mask. There'll be supplies there. There'll be hand washing supplies. Yes, the numbers are coming down. That's good. Let's keep the numbers coming down. Let's do all the things that made us very successful in the very beginning: social distancing, washing hands. If you feel ill, make other arrangements. Call Pat Waterman. Try to get an absentee ballot, but do something. But if you feel ill, you need to stay put. But in the meantime, make sure you wear a mask and do all those things that you need to do to vote safely. All right, so 8 March, again, 8 in the morning until 7 p.m. That's going to be at Town Hall in the Great Hall. And there is an elevator. It is ADA accessible, so if you're walking impaired, you can take the elevator and get up there. Another big date is the Ides of March, right? 15 March, E2 Brutai, all right? And U2 Brutus, right? If you remember your Julius Caesar from high school, Shakespeare, right? And, of course, another big date, and, of course, my favorite is my birthday, 21 March. So please support me. Yeah. Please support me in the Lake Winnipesaukee penguin plunge, polar plunge, as they call it. I call it the penguin plunge, but it's the polar plunge. It is to raise money for Special Olympics. If you go on our webpage or you see these, you can go on the Special Olympics webpage and you can look for the Wolfeboro team and you can see all the team members, and please, I'm asking for your support. None of the money comes to the PD. This all goes to support New Hampshire Special Olympics. So let me just take a little minute and talk about that. So these are children that are impaired to some degree, that get to experience a very special weekend down at the UNH campus, where they're competing in athletic tournaments and athletic events. And this is a very good program. We've been supporting this. I've been supporting it my entire 26 years in the Wolfeboro PD, and I believe the PD has been supporting this now close to 40 years. We also do a run in May called the Special Olympics Torch Run, where we do that, and this run the torch gets passed off between police departments for the better part of a couple of months until they begin the games every summer down at UNH. So 2 events. We support both very heavily. The whole thing is organized by our dispatch supervisor, Mian Lyons. This is a great community outreach program. It's one that's near and dear to our hearts. So you get to see me jump in the cold, frigid waters of Lake Winnipesaukee. We did it for the first time last year. It was a hoot. It was really cold. You can go watch the videos and see us freezing out there. So please support me on that. I need your support. Go ahead and make a donation. Any amount we're very grateful for any amount of money, so any amount is fine, and help contribute to see me jump in the cold waters of Lake Winnipesaukee. And that is on 11 March. That's a Friday. That's 11 March. And that's going to be down with our host at Clearwater Ledges. So if you're in the neighborhood, come on down. Get to see me jump in and cheer us on. And there's a number of us this year. The team has grown. And we're also supported in this event by Eastern Propane and Oil. We have a Wolfeboro office here. So Chuck Clement and Cider Berry from Eastern Propane support us on this event so we can make it safe, right? That's the difference. Just so you know, when we do this, we have a warming trailer, we have heaters set up, we have warm clothing and blankets for all of the dippers, and we have fire rescue personnel in the water and exposure suits. We have ladders in and out of the water. So we're very careful about how we do this. We mitigate all the risks, and of course, I always do a 5-paragraph operations order to make sure that we cover all the risks and that we look at each individual risk and mitigate it. That's the difference. When we do an operation, we're mitigating the risks. So again, come down, see us, jump in. It is a hoot. We love doing it, and it's for a very special cause. And that's, again, 11 March, and that's going to be at approximately 1400 hours, 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Friday. So I think I covered all the big dates. Did I miss anything? No, that's it, right? So, of course, the most important date. Oh, wait a minute, right? One more I want to talk about, Evacuation Day. Someday, I will get Wolfeboro to celebrate Evacuation Day. So you ask, what is Evacuation Day, right? I see all the quizzical looks around the room here. What is Evacuation Day? Evacuation Day, most of you know it as St. Patty's Day. This is the day that Colonel Henry Knox and Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys and some other local patriots were able to successfully move the cannons captured at Fort Ticonderoga, move them over the what was called the Noble Train of Artillery, the ox and horse-drawn carts through the heavy snows from upstate New York, and moved this heavy train, the Noble Train of Artillery, all the way down to Boston, and we fortified the heights of Dorchester overlooking Boston Harbor, and we pushed the British out of Boston. And the British evacuated on 17 March. 17 March. So that has become known and celebrated. When I was a child, I used to look forward to Evacuation Day, also known as St. Patty's Day. We used to have that day off from school as a kid, so that was pretty cool. So it was celebrated in Suffolk and Middlesex counties, some other counties around Massachusetts also celebrated. But Evacuation Day, that's the day the British left Boston. Boston was the only major port city that never fell back into British hands during the American Revolutionary War. So there's your bit of history. So 17 March, happy Evacuation Day. And so moving on to March in the town vote, I just wanted to talk a little bit about we've made it through the budget season. I think there was a very, very tight budget. I think all the department heads in the town did a great job. I echo the words of Bob Tuffer, Vice Chair of the Budget Committee. He was very impressed and pleased with the budget this year, the overall town budget, as am I. We were part of every bit of that process all the way through. The police department budget, I will tell you, was very tight. We came in tight, and it was very tight. We had a great budget discussion this year. A lot of good, honest, frank discussions, and of course we always appreciate that. It was a lot of hard work that went into building this budget, not just from our part, but also the rest of my brothers and department heads and the rest of my colleagues in the town hall did a great job putting this budget together. So I would hope that the town supports the operating budget. And more importantly, I want to talk a little bit about Warrant Article 23, and that is the town warrant article to raise $300,000 for construction grade diagrams to build a new police station. All right, so this is a police station only, and it's going to be on North Main Street at what is affectionately referred to as the old water tower site on North Main Street. So the town owns that land. It's reasonably level, flat, so we have to do a lot less site work in there than we would have to do in other locations. So that's the site is very, very attractive. It's really a good location. It's not. I know there's been some issues about people saying, "Well, is that really the best location?" Yes, it is. That is the best location. The plan right now. Just let me talk a little bit about the plan. Should this warrant article pass, the plan would be to build the police station at that location, to keep the fire department where it is, and then to address the remediation of that building very slowly over the course of the next 3 years in a phased approach, which makes a lot of sense. And by doing so, we make this project very, very affordable and cost effective. If we were to stay at our current location and build out from there, we would have a lot of issues that we would have to overcome. They're not insurmountable, but they're very expensive. Unfortunately, when we're faced with problems, one of the few resources that we have at our disposal is money. So let me explain this for a moment. And the issue really rests with the fire equipment. All of our fire trucks carry water, and those fire trucks have to be in climate-controlled areas. So we would have to build some sort of temporary facility or structure somewhere to house that equipment. It's very expensive. That's adding to the cost of construction. To remediate some of the issues in the fire department, bays are really going to require a very, very lengthy period of time. You could be looking at 1 year or more, so read here at least one winter. So these are some of the issues that we were facing. So it makes sense to move the police department out, build a new facility, which we desperately need, and then to remediate very slowly over the course of 3 years the problems in a lockstep fashion. And that would preclude having to move the fire equipment out for extended periods of time, a year or more, where we could get at and remediate the problems and expand those bays the way they need to be expanded and repaired the way they need to be repaired. So yes, we are going to have to move the fire trucks out, but we could do that in August, address some of the issues and move the trucks back in and keep doing that over a phased approach year after year after year until all the problems have been corrected, remediated, and the facility expanded to accommodate what is obviously a growing fire department. Now remember, we've been in that building for approximately 50 years, right? There's some discussion as to whether that building was built in 72 or 74, but between 48 and 50 years. The building is old, the building is tired. The building needs to be brought up to code, desperately needs to be brought up to code. A lot of the infrastructure that we have presently that we rely very heavily on, things like the internet, right? Things like wireless communications, things like servers, things like computer programs and automated data processing equipment, video conferencing, all of these things that we need to operate in a millennial environment were not available in 1972. A lot of the equipment used in 1972 is nowhere near what we have presently today. They don't make fire trucks like that anymore. Okay, so what I'm saying is that the building has outgrown its usefulness, and that's just the reality of the world we live in. Just like police cruisers from days of yore have changed to what we have now, so haven't the fire equipment and the fire apparatus. That building needs to be remediated and retrofitted and modified to accommodate the very sophisticated, very important equipment that our firefighters, very brave firefighters, have, and they need that equipment for their safety. They need it for your safety. They need it to put out fires. Remember, fire science has changed, just like police science has changed from 1972. So yes, where that building was very efficient, if you will, in 1972, not so much anymore. We've really outgrown it. There is nothing in there, in fact, that meets federal code. If we wanted to be a professionally certified organization and achieve, the CALIA type standards that the state is moving to, we're held back by the building. Currently, our building holds us back. A lot of the fire science in terms of toxicant prevention, the fire department can't take advantage of, because the way the building has been built and designed, those things just weren't practiced in 1972. So following best practices, these things need to be changed. Okay, unfortunately, you just can't do business anymore the way you did in 1972. So this is a very important. Pardon?
Even 5 years.
Yeah. This is a very important warrant article. They're all important, but this is very important. Obviously, it's very important to the police department and the fire department, because this one has to happen first in order to start the fixes on the fire station. Really, what we're doing, folks, is we're playing basically a game of shuffle, right, or a game of Tetris, right? We've got to build infrastructure, move the police department to that location, and then remediate the building and build out the building that we're in, taking advantage of all the modern science and all the best practices, right? And this is the most cost-effective method to do it. That's the other balancing thing. Sure, we could stay on that location and do all this, probably at a cost of $14 million or more dollars in terms of a bond, which invariably raises the bond rate tremendously. We don't want to do that. That's not what we want to do. So though we don't have very accurate numbers right now, because we're trying to be, where we want to look at building a police station in 2023, but we can anticipate that it's going to be somewhere between 6.1 and 6.2 million, and then remediate the fire station in phases, depending on what those costs may be, whether it's $1 million or $800 million, and take it in lockstep. And then eventually we'll end up with both facilities built and or remediated and repaired, and we'll set the town up for success for another 50 years. So I want to talk about some of the other locations. Yes, we did look at the old bank facility. I think everybody's in agreement that would have been a great facility, but it was bought out from under us. That was unfortunate. We did look at locations on 109A. We liked 109A. There was a lot of soil remediation and drainage issues, which would have caused a fairly significant cost that would have had to have been addressed, which would have added a cost to the building. And even though that is not insurmountable, one of the issues we can't get around are the propane tanks and the fuel oil tanks and the storage that are down there at that location that make it really, really dangerous to put a police station. You don't want a fuel oil leak or a propane leak to really inhibit or interfere with operations, or if there was an explosion, potentially damage a brand new building. So those are the issues that we wrestled with. So even though we liked that location, we went back to it a couple of times and took really close looks to seeing if we could remediate some of the threats in that area. We're just too close to Eastern Propane, and it just didn't make a lot of sense for us to build there. But yes, we understand that some people do think it's a good location. Unfortunately, the risk of a fuel oil leak or propane leak it really outweighs all the positives in that area. We took a look at areas along Filterbed Road, and unfortunately, it was felt that in order to build the roads up to the needed base and infrastructure and drainage that would be required to support fire trucks and so forth moving down that road would be cost prohibited. So we did look at those locations, and we felt that they weren't the best. We looked a number of times at our current location, and we determined that was probably cost prohibitive in that. So yes, we did look at other locations. We looked at the locations out by 7-Eleven, and those really were not, even though they were attractive, there were issues with wetlands and soil remediation, and it became cost prohibitive to connect water sewer lines out to those locations. So yes, again, we looked at other locations, and we wanted to keep the price tag on this at what we consider to be a reasonable cost to the taxpayer, realizing that we would have to bond this project, right? It's a large-scale infrastructure project. We would have to bond it. So we did look at all these things, and we felt that this is definitely the best location. One of the things that I like about the North Main Street location is that I have access to the entire town. Remember, my officers are already out on the road patrolling. They're in the neighborhoods. They're in the various communities that we have in Wolfeboro. They're in, as I call, Sector A and Sector B. We have units that are already out on the road. So when my officers come in, they get their shift briefing from either dispatch or their supervisor, and then depending on what shift they're working, because the supervisor may already be out on the road, and then they're grabbing their gear, grabbing their equipment, grabbing a cruiser, and they are heading out on the road. So they're out on the road already. So it's not a response issue. There is no response issue here. They're already there. In other words, they're already in their assigned locations doing patrol, whether it's traffic patrol or general crime prevention, physical security patrol, but they're out on patrol. The thing that I like about the North Main Street location is that I'm not constricted as to the location like I am now. And let me explain. Yes, I'm across the street from the hospital. Yes, we're on the 251 South Main Street. But the choke point for the police department often becomes the Pickering Corner intersection, especially during the busy summer months. 4th of July, the Santa Parade. If we have to roll resources or assets, whether police, fire, or other, from the Wolfeboro Police Station, that becomes a natural choke point for us. We have to get through that area. If it's during the 4th of July, we all know nothing is moving through that area. If it's during a very busy summer month or Labor Day or Columbus Day weekend, it's heavily constricted. Not so much coming from the North Main Street side. So yes, where I may be closer right now to, if you will, the compact portion of town, we're approximately 1.2 miles away from the compact portion of town by vehicle, which is not very far. So we're measuring a time lag in seconds. That's really what we're talking about. So yes, physical distances, we're a little bit further away, but in terms of time, not so much. Not so much, and I'm not constricted by a natural choke point. Unfortunately, when we laid out the town of Wolfeboro, there wasn't a lot of consideration given to, bypass routes around the compact portion of town. So we're living with that engineering, and we're dealing with it. This is a really attractive location, and so hear it from me. We've done the analysis. We really like it. We have access to 109A from Lang Pond Road or from Wambach Road. We have multiple egresses and avenues to get around town if we need to. We're 1.2 miles away approximately from the compact portion of town. It really is an attractive location for us. No, my cars aren't going to be screaming in and out of that location all times of day and night. Remember, they're already out on the road. All right, and my officers aren't at the police station most normally. If they are, it's because they're processing an arrest, or they're tagging and bagging evidence, or they're finishing up a report and getting right back out on the road, or they're meeting with myself or the captain or one of the other supervisors, or trying to get some research done through dispatcher, or a number of tasks that they would have to do at the police station. But once that task is completed, they're right back out on the road. So I see this as a very attractive location, and I hope you do too. And this plan that we have is very cost effective. I can't emphasize that enough. This is very cost effective. And if we wait, if we wait to do anything else, it's invariably going to be more expensive. The last thing I want to say is the bond rates right now, the municipal bond rates for bonding a project of $6.1 or $6.2 million is very, very attractive right now. This is the time to get a large-scale infrastructure project done. If we wait, this will be very expensive, much more so than it is right now. It's just not the course of action that I would recommend. Maybe 5 years ago, I was, maybe the bond rates aren't as attractive. Maybe we should look at other options, but not at this point. At this point, we need to basically strike while the iron is hot, and this is a really good plan. The committee that determined the course that we're on was made up of budget committee members. It was made up of board of selectmen members. It was made up of the fire chief, the police chief, the executive officers for both organizations, and it was also made up by private citizens. So let me say that again. It was also made up by private citizens. All of the documents, all of the meetings, all of the schematics and designs and the architectural renderings to give us a look at what the dimensions are and the conceptual designs will be are all online. They're all online. If you go to the town website, you look at the Public Safety Building Committee, you'll see everything there. You'll see all the artist renderings. You'll see the various plans. You'll see the minutes. You'll see people weighing in on the size and scale of the building. You'll see where we made changes. And this really began, this process, I want to say this process began in 2016 when I was the captain and was working with the Wolfeboro Police Commission, and then the town hall, the town manager at the time, Dave Owen, and saying, hey, the master plan says this. We need to start thinking about this. We need to start doing this. Dave Owen, the town manager at the time, got the Public Safety Building Committee together. We formed the committee. We chose the members. We started the way ahead. We had goals and objectives in mind. We had agendas, and we began moving the football, if you will, down the field. Right? We began the process, and it was slow. It was laborious. It was methodical. It was designed to be. We wanted to build in 2022. We took a year because of COVID-19 to get past that. That was the immediate crisis at the moment. But now is the time to really get this project funded. And the first step is warrant Article 23 with the construction grade drawings to make sure that we have the math correct, to make sure that we understand the depth that we need to go, the weight limits that need to be met, the structural integrity that needs to be achieved. That's the whole point of the construction grade diagrams, to make sure that we're digging in the right locations, that we're going to be able to connect the water and sewer lines, make sure we have all that math figured out and we have everything marked out. That's the purpose of this. So this is the final step in the process. We need these construction drawings. These are like blueprints, right? They tell you how to put the building together, and they tell you what load limits have to be met. This is critical. This is not an architectural drawing that's going to show you size and dimension. Of course, these documents will show you that, but they'll also give you all the math, the load, the bearing, where do the weight-bearing walls need to be. What is the structural integrity of the roof trusses and the members, and taking everything into consideration like wind load and snow load. So that's what all this is designed to do. It's very expensive, yes, I understand that, but this is the next thing that we need to do. So there you have it. That was it in a nutshell. Please support warrant Article 23. It's critically important. I wouldn't be asking you and taking this time if it wasn't. This is a good thing. This is supported unanimously by the building committee. Right? This is supported unanimously by the building committee. It's supported by both budget committee members. It's supported by the town manager, supported by the board of selectmen. We did our due diligence, and now we need to move this to the next step. And this is where you, the legislative body, need to weigh in, and you should approve it. Anything short of this is unfortunately just going to be more expensive. So, having said that, I'm going to turn it over to the captain for an operational update. Captain?
But first, I'll just add on to what he's talking about, the building. As we did last month, if you check on the community page, TV community, and our Facebook page, we did a virtual tour, because that's always the question: why do we need it? What's the inside of the building look like? Nobody really actually knows unless there's a few here and there that do come in and have meetings, and everyone sees the lobby, but nobody actually sees the operation and all the rooms inside there. So we did a little virtual tour, the chief and I on our side and the fire chief on the fire side, and gave you a little to open everyone's eyes to see what the inside of our building looks like, and to see why we need it, not want it, why we need this public safety building, but a police department with a fire department, and renovate that current building, because the current building does look good. You look like from the outside, it just needs to be remediated to be up to par to what the fire department needs. Remember, the fire department's getting bigger. If you look at their budget this year, I'm a Wolfeboro resident. I support their budget. They have plans to increase the number of firefighters, which they need for the safety of this town. And if you look at the Public Works Department, they're increasing for more plowing. Our town is expanding and increasing. So eventually down the road, as we are going to be looking at, eventually the police department is going to be going that same route. I mean, we're just getting bigger. There's more increased calls. This was step one, as the building kind of gets to our size, what we need on that location up on North Main Street. But please take a look at that virtual tour. And when we get into the summer months, June, July, we'll start getting some open houses. We'll get people in. Virtual tours are great, but you're not there. You're not seeing it straight up close. And so we'll get the open houses. We'll have you come in, walk around like 5 to 6 people at a time, because remember, it's not that big. You can't move around a lot. So there'll be the chief and I and some other officers giving a good explanation of the inside of the building and what we have done to make it work for us currently, and go from there. So
we are out of space.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much that's what it is. We have no more space in that building. There's a lot of things. I mean, if you just look at our records, and during that virtual tour, nobody saw the records room because we don't have one in that building. It's actually out back. We have like a little pod that holds our records room. So that just tells you right there how the space is becoming smaller and smaller as we keep going with the changes that our department is making as we keep increasing and moving forward. So with that said, I know the other question was always on North Main Street on that turn. So remember this. Most everyone out there knows where this location is. It's the old water site. It's not a 90-degree turn up there. So it's a bend. So we'll put that into perspective. It's a bend if you travel up there. So when you do pull out, you can see left and you can see right. This isn't a 90-degree turn, so you can't see anything, and you need a mirror to look left and all that stuff. So you can see it, and exactly what the chief has mentioned before. Our officers, and this is what we've got to, all our cruisers are set up as basically an office. That's to put it to perspective there. It's all set up as an office. We have a MBT in there. If you remember in the previous years that we got grants for this items, this is why we did it. This gets our officers out into the road, to their sectors. They are traveling around into the neighborhoods, downtown area, the state roads, the town roads, to patrol. That's exactly their function. They're out there to patrol. We're being proactive. We're out there trying to find things. Unfortunately, there's bad things that do happen. That's why we're out there. We're being proactive. So our officers are out on the roadways. So they're not really responding. They don't respond from South Main Street. They're out on their sectors. So really, our building being up there doesn't change the way we operate with our patrol fleet. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, the chief has mentioned before, they're in the building due to factors of an arrest, due to factors of paperwork that you just can't do it inside because it's a lengthy report. And they're inside doing meetings and briefings and that stuff. So other than that, they're out on the roadway. And everyone sees them. I know that you go by. Remember, we only have 14 officers. We actually have 13 that are in our town working right now. So that's all you see out there. And to give you a perspective of what each one does, of those 13 officers, you have the chief and I. So now you're down to 11 officers. We have a school resource officer, which you need up there. Don't get me that wrong. I mean, the school holds, approximately 2,000 teachers, staff, and students up at that campus. So remember, there's Crescent Lake, there's the high school, there's the middle school, there's a vocational school, and there's Carpenter School, and there's Lakeside Academy. That's all affiliated with the SAU 49. And that's what the SRO is covering. It's all of that. That's quite a large area for one officer to cover and operate under. But she's up at it's Officer Devine. She's up at the school, at the high school. She has an office up there. And she actually does some classes up there, community relations up there. But she's literally walking in a sense, if you look at patrol work, she's patrolling the school and in her office, out on the in the hallways. She's in the classrooms helping. And so that's one officer there. We have a detective, which is Detective Emerson. He's in-house in our building. So he's taking all your major cases that do come in that make it very challenging for patrol, because sometimes you have to follow up outside of the town of Wolfeboro. And how can you take a patrol officer and put them in Ossipee, Farmington, Concord, for Rochester for follow-ups? That's why we have a detective. The detective handles all those follow-ups, major crime, felony level crimes, and that's what he's looking at. If you come to the commissioners' meetings, you'll see his updated monthly stats that he does do. Same thing with the school resource officer, all the contacts, all the activity that's up at the school that's going on a monthly basis. The commissioners, at the commissioners meeting, which we have every third Thursday of the month, that comes out on that. So then you have the rest of the officers are in patrol. So we have our supervisors, staff sergeant, 3 sergeants, 1 corporal right now, because this month we're in the process of finalizing an oral board and going through. We have 3 candidates going for the corporal's position, and hopefully by the first week of April we'll have a new corporal into that slot. So we'll have 2 corporals and the rest are officers on our patrol fleet. So that gives you a little perspective of what we have and what's out there on patrol. So it isn't all 14 officers are working at the same time. I mean, remember, we're 24/7. So we have to cover every part of the day. So the shifts range from, our shifts range from 6 in the morning to 4 at night, 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., and then we have an 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., the midnight shift, which is, in my eyes, it's the less activity, but it's the most dangerous shift. And right now we only have 1 officer, and with the surrounding towns that we do have around us, it makes it challenging, because back in my day when I was in patrol, we had a lot more surrounding towns that were out on patrol during the midnight shift to help each other out. That is not the case anymore.
Clearly not.
Yeah, so we only have a limited few towns that actually have, that we can use for backup. Everybody else is closed down, even with the state police right now, because right now recruitment is tough in our field, in our career, in our profession. So we don't have the backup we used to have, actually, when I was in patrol, compared to what we have right now. So we try to overlap that. We try to have the least amount of time with one officer by themselves. Yeah, really, by themselves. They were out patrolling alone. No one else and another officer out with them. They are alone at that time. So we're working on something like that and trying to fix that issue, that problem, and because it is the dangerous time of the hours for something to come in, because it isn't your usual daytime where you might just have a minor little call for service. Usually at 3 in the morning, our calls for service are not what comes out during the daytime. Unfortunately, everyone's usually sleeping, so it's usually the people that are doing something is not good at that time in the morning.
So just let me, when I was in the Army, when I was an Army officer, company commander, platoon leader, company commander, battalion commander, there was an adage I ripped off from a former battalion commander: nothing good ever happens past midnight. And I would say that nothing good ever happens past 11 p.m. So the captain's absolutely right. Let me talk a little bit about what makes the midnight shift dangerous. Right? It's just as he said. Generally speaking, it's not. I'm not going to say it's a busy shift. Right? And I didn't say that. Neither did he. He didn't say it was busy. Right? That's not what we're saying. It's dangerous. The reason it's dangerous is because if there's a bad actor and he's doing something that requires a police presence to stop or prevent, it's generally very bad. That's number one. Number two, the backup is almost virtually non-existent. OSPI no longer is running a midnight shift. The state police are now off the road at 23:30, I believe. The sheriff's department has been off the road for the last 10 or 11 years at 2300 hours. That's 11 p.m. Forgive me when I said 23:30. That's the state police are off the road at about 11:30 p.m. The other towns around us are hit or miss depending on where their personnel are. Alton, which does have a midnight officer. Remember, Alton is the largest town in the state of New Hampshire. If they have an officer on the Guilford border on midnight and they've got to come over to Wolfeboro, that's about an hour drive. Think about that. That's about an hour drive. So there you have it. I mean, these are the things that keep me up at night. These are the issues that I worry about. It's officer safety. It's citizen safety, making sure that we're providing the best product. So yes, I do want to examine this issue very closely. I have discussed this a few times at commission meetings. But these are some of the issues that we're wrestling with, right? Of course, we have to juggle everything within the budget. Right? There's always budgetary concerns, right? And so there is that. And getting another guy, if you will, to cover midnights is not that easy. So remember, we're 24/7, as the captain said. A lot of people though they hear me, they're not necessarily listening. We are 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, around the clock, holidays included, okay? So in order to cover the hours, you really need 2.5 officers, or you need 3 officers, right? That's what you need. So it's not as simple as just hire another guy. No, when we have to balance this, like everything else. We have to balance this out so there's no sticker shock to the taxpayer, right? There's always the taxpayer concern. So these are some of the issues that we're wrestling with and we're trying to address. I'm trying to address them as the chief of police. The captain's trying to address them as the executive officer. We are looking at federal grants. We're looking at options available, and our options unfortunately keep getting dwindled down. So there you have it. That's the operational piece to this. But getting back to Warrant Article 23, everything that the captain said is absolutely correct. We want your support. We need your support. This is not a want. This is a need. We need a new police station. And in order to do what the Attorney General of the state of New Hampshire wants us to do, in order to do what the citizens of the state of New Hampshire want law enforcement to do moving into the new millennia, and looking at everything that came out of the citizen review on law enforcement, the building has to change. The building just has to change. That's all there is to it, Captain.
And I also want to let everyone know that as he's just going to take a phone call, the next item that we are looking at, as all the other states are looking at the same thing, but especially New Hampshire, based on the governor's guidance, is body-worn cameras and video cameras in our cruisers. Now, this price tag is not cheap. It's not cheap at all. We have been looking into it. This is being transparent, as every department wants to be. We are looking into this and seeing what the cost, the analysis of it all, and we have some cost. We are looking into it. We are basically investigating it all, in all the different departments and all the different brands that are out there for body-worn cameras and cameras in our cruisers. So this makes all departments, a little bit more transparent. It's out there, and I think it's a good thing that we're looking at that right now and basically researching it. And so I don't want anyone to think that we're not doing that and we're not researching body cams and cameras, but these are items that the chief and I are looking into. We're researching it, and we're trying to find the best brand that's out there, cost that's out there, and that best work with our department. Because I know right now the state police are putting it into their, right now I know some of them, they're slowly but surely, because there's a price tag for everything. So they're slowly but surely getting it into their office troopers and their cruisers. So with that part of the operation is pretty good. I mean, we're moving forward with in March here. There's nothing major is coming up here in March. There's no 4th of July. We're still about 4 or 5 months away. So we're preparing for it now. Don't get me wrong. This takes a while to get all ready for that. As you know, as he's mentioned before, there's a lot of people that do come up here. This is, I believe, is going to be one of the largest ones for some time this year. So it's going to be very crowded, very busy. Plan accordingly, because there's going to be road closures. You're going to have to go around. We won't be able to at certain times, because I believe it's going to be back to the norm. The time is 9 o'clock or in that general ballpark.
No parking on the street.
Yeah, there's going to be no parking on the street. I think that works well. All your community and vacations and people coming up here, everyone can view it without cars in the way. And honestly, it's safety. That's what we look at. Cars on the road, there's a safety factor there. There's many reasons why, but the major factor is safety. And that's what we look at, and we try to eliminate any safety factor. We want to be safe for everybody. With dispatch right now, everything's going well. Call volume's up this year. So I'm thinking in April, I just haven't had time to get all the stats out for this TV show, but we'll get it out in April due to the fact it's been a busy couple months. COVID is still around. We've had some issues with COVID, some quarantines, some people off. Remember, there is a quarantine period. We are 24/7. We still have to fill those shifts. Others do take vacation. Training. Like I said, we only have 13 officers that are in patrol work to cover those shifts. So there are challenges in the patrol field. But we're working on that. We make it work and we make it happen. But the dispatch side, they're working good. Calls are up. Calls are good. They're doing a great job, fantastic job. Remember, they dispatch for police. They dispatch for fire. They're the on-call after hours for the electric department, for the water department, for the town garage, EMS. So it's not just you think dispatch, you think police. It's not like that in this town. We cater to the town of Wolfeboro and everything that comes with it, and that's the unique part of this town in being affiliated with everything that's in there. We try to put it all in one for cost. I mean, it's cheaper that way. Then we don't have to have an on-call for electric department and all that good stuff.
There's a reason we call it Wolfeboro Central Dispatch. That's exactly the reason why.
That's exactly why. So I'll move on to the Winnie Dip. So if you look at that, I am not the one that's jumping into this lake, but I will be there. So we'll have a Facebook Live there on that day, and I will be doing that because, somebody needs to show everybody that they're jumping into this cold, cold lake. And I like to get that all on film. You know what I mean? So I will be there. It's around 2:30 we'll start, and I'll be, like I did last year, we'll be filming that. We'll see everybody jump in. We'll see everybody run out. We'll see everybody run into the heat trailer to warm up. But, yeah, it'll be a fun time. So if you're around, stop in there. Or if you can't get down there, watch it on, we'll put it on our social media network, Facebook Live, and we'll get it out there. So
hopefully it'll be simulcast by Wolfeboro Community TV. And I will tell you, it is cold. So hey, look, if I don't get the $300, I'm not jumping. So you need to support me. You need to make a donation. $5, $10, any amount is appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, so just keep looking on our Facebook page, all updates. I believe all that stuff is out there. We try to get stuff out there daily as best as we can to inform the public of anything that's going on, anything going on with us, dispatch, police, animal control. So we try to get everything out there for the public to see it. So, but honestly, take a look at the virtual tour that we did out there. It's tagged on our Facebook page, but it's also on community television. Take a look at it. I think it's done well. The fire chief did his side. The chief and I did our side of the building. You'll see it's very cramped in there, and the need for why we did this public safety committee is to get it out there. And so vote on Article 23. Please get out there and vote. And not only the town budget, too. Very well done.
Yes. Thank you very much. So that concludes this segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I really do appreciate you dialing in and watching. Support us on the Polar Plunge. Support us on Warrant Article 23, and please support the town operating budget. A lot of hard work went into that, and a very, very efficient budget. So again, thank you very much. I am Chief Dean Rondeau signing off. I want you to be safe. Stay tuned for your safety tip of the month. And tune in next month for another segment of Coffee Connections with the Chief. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another segment of Coffee and Connections with your Chief. And I'm Chief Dean Rondeau with your safety tip of the month. Having said that, it's springtime, right? 21 March. First day of spring. So please, if you got equipment out on the lake, you need to get it in. Your bob houses and your sleds and all your equipment out there and your fishing and camping equipment, it's time to come in. It's going to be warming up. We've had a number of freeze and thaw cycles, but ultimately it's going to warm up. Get that equipment off the lake. The ice is thin. Be very careful. And you don't want to have to try to go fishing for that stuff if it sinks through the ice. And invariably every year we have bob houses out there bobbing in the lake, or we have somebody's vehicle go through the lake because they were just late trying to get their stuff off, and that ice is going to start thinning out real quick here. So please get your equipment off the lake. Be very safe when you're out there, and take all the normal precautions. So thank you very much for tuning in to Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau, and I'll see you again in April. Don't forget, town vote coming up 8 March, very important. Please support Warrant Article 23. Please support the operating budget of the town. And I want everybody to have a very happy evacuation day, 17 March, also known as St. Patty's Day. Thank you very much. And see you all next month. Bye-bye.